orchids are one of the largest plant families on Earth. There are thousands of species, and some of the rarest ones are in the far-flung corners of the globe, like Australia, where we have over 1,800 species. I'm out in some remnant bush, 45 minutes drive from Adelaide. I'm going for a very careful walk with some orchid experts to see if we can spot some of the region's most delicate attractions.
There we go.
Get it?
Rosalie and Robert Lawrence have shared their love of orchids for decades.
It's called orchid fever. People, you get bitten by the bug and that's it. They're just so exquisite, such a huge variety.
Of course, they're good for taking photographs of.
Very
They're not like
photogenic.
birds that fly away. They sort of stay there long enough to sort of get a good shot.
So we're looking for terrestrial or ground orchids, and one of the best places to spot them is on the path, isn't it?
The path has an element of some clearance, and orchids like just a little bit of disturbance. That means we can see them easily, which is really good. Trampling, walking on them, that destroys them. But by having the path, we don't have to go far to see them. If we sort of start looking in here, actually there's two. So there's one over there and there's one here.
This is a reasonably sized, very pretty orchid. It's the Black Fire Orchid, Pyrorchis nigricans. And it's called black because after the flower finishes, it turns black.
You can find this blackened remains, like it's been burnt, but you can see all the features still. So you can see the sepals, you can see the petals, you can see the labellum, all the parts of the flower because of how it just dries and mummifies.
It's quite a common species. As you can see, there are probably hundreds of
thousands make that
of leaves.
So they spread right out and right back up there. But that's all you see are usually the leaves. Whereas that's unusual to see it in flower unless there's been a fire.
We might find some orchids on this side.
Right over here.
Okay, so what's that one?
That's the narrow-lipped spider orchid, or queen.
I prefer Queen Spider Orchid for that. This one is only found in South Australia.
Okay,
So
endemic.
It's endemic to South Australia. One of the characteristics of spider orchids is the hairy leaf and the hairy stems.
And if you look at them really closely, this species has two lengths of hairs, has tiny little hairs that cover most of it, and then there are long silky hairs as well.
One of the things about all orchids is that they rely on the mycorrhizal fungi in the soil. They rely on it for seed germination, but the thing about the spider orchids is they actually rely on the fungi for the whole of their life cycle, which is one of the reasons why it's a very difficult orchid to cultivate. And that's why it's important that we actually look after what's here in the bush. You can't see the fungi, but seeing the orchid tells us the fungi's there. Oh, nice.
And there's another one there. Yes.
Yeah, two of them.
Oh, beautiful.
So they're the maroon hoods.
Gorgeous.
Oh, here we've got a good example of mimicry, where we've got a native pea that's in flower, and then we've got over here we've got orchids, which are the same colour and shape, but slightly larger than the flowers of the peas. So a bee coming along looking for food on the peas sees the orchid flowers and thinks, oh, they're brighter and bigger, let's go to them first. And so all the orchids are strategically placed around the shrubs, so they're in an ideal place to get fertilised by the native bees.
Nature is awesome, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, native orchids are like an indicator of ecosystem change, aren't they? So their health is like the warning for us.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. They don't exist by themselves. They need a functioning ecosystem for their whole life cycle to be completed. For some of them, we don't know which insects pollinate them, and for some, we no longer know what pollinated them in the past. It seems that some of the pollinators have disappeared because some are not being pollinated.
Despite decades of careful observation by enthusiasts, in some ways, orchids remain mysterious. Robert and Rosalie have teamed up with the University of Adelaide to create an app that lets orchid enthusiasts record data and share it with scientists. Katie Irvine is one of the ecologists working on the project. So orchid enthusiasts are very passionate, aren't they?
They are. We have an amazing group of orchid enthusiasts around the country who are taking beautiful photographs of orchids, who have amazing skills and knowledge when it comes to orchid identification. And the Wild Orchid Watch app is going to be able to be a hub for these people to be able to put all of their information in one place, and then scientists will have access to that data.
So how does it work?
You can take your orchid photos via the app, have your location services turned on your phone, so then we can map where the orchids are around Australia, and then we'll just have a series of questions, quite simple questions that the ecologists have set up for us so that we have really great quality data.
And once all this information is gathered, what's the purpose?
So we know that orchids are an indicator of ecosystem change. They are a really vital part of the ecosystem, but they do tend to disappear quite quickly when there's been disturbance at a site. So it's very important that we can map where orchids are, the 1,800 species that we have in Australia, and then that information can be used obviously for publishing by researchers, but also for land managers and people who maybe are looking at things like development approvals and that kind of thing.
There's always the joy of discovering native orchids, and sharing your findings is half the fun. That's why there are so many orchid clubs and societies around Australia. But if people can pool their resources and share their findings more broadly, we can better understand these beautiful plants and better protect them.